Did you see the recent news that came out? Drug overdose deaths in the U.S. hit a record high in 2020, 93,331. And that number is probably an underestimate of the actual deaths. And we knew that through this pandemic, um, you know, drugs and opioids, we were seeing an increase of usage. And sadly, those numbers are telling the story of what everyone suspected. But there are ways that you can help and to save a life as well. To talk a little bit more, let's bring in Julie Brenner. She's the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Hi, Julie. Great to have you with us again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I know we have been talking about the number of people dying from opioids throughout this pandemic, but when you see that number and you remember it's not a number, those are, that's a person, that's someone's brother or sister, and it really
Yep.
is just staggering.
It is staggering. We've seen a drastic increase over the last year, up 12.7% during the same period back in 2019. So that means that we have a 12.7% increase in overdose deaths. And it's substantial and it's tragic.
So, as we start to hopefully emerge from this pandemic, do you hope or do you anticipate the numbers are going to start going down, or are we still in a cycle that maybe doesn't won't see an end for a while?
We're hopeful that we're going to see a decrease. We've put a lot of different programs in place across the county, including harm reduction with Narcan, providing free trainings to pretty much anybody that requires it. And we're expecting that we'll start seeing a decrease because people are more empowered to help in an overdose situation.
So, can you tell us more about Narcan?
Sure. So it's an opioid reversal uh, medication. Basically, it's we have Narcan, which is intranasal. Very simple way to administer this life-saving medication, and we do a training for it that can honestly 15 minutes drive-through. We provide it in multiple settings to make sure that we believe it should be a part of everybody's first aid kit. It should be in every organization beside their AED. It's necessary. You don't know when an overdose will occur, and it knows no limits.
Yeah, I know that, I think every restaurant should have them. Businesses should
Absolutely.
have it. It's like you said, make it a part of your first aid kit. But I think some people too get worried about if they were to come across and administer it, could they be held responsible in some way if they don't use it properly?
Right. So no, they wouldn't. Michigan has a Good Samaritan law, and no, the answer is no. The goal here is, especially within training, we really emphasize 911. You need to get emergency response teams there as fast as possible to obviously take care of that human. The other part of that too is with nasal Narcan. If you're not in the throes of an actual overdose, it has no effect on you in any way, shape, or form. So again, that's why it's important to get EMS there to gauge really what is occurring. Obviously, if you're seeing drug paraphernalia and things like that around, and it's an obvious thing, go ahead and administer the Narcan. But Good Samaritan law protects you from that, from any kind of liability.
Again, we're talking with Julie Brenner, the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. And Julie, what are the signs of someone being in an overdose situation? Because I'm thinking more like, because I went through the training a few years ago, which I think mine has expired now. And we should note that they do have an expiration date and you need to get
Yes, they
them
do.
renewed. But
Mm-hmm.
I keep one in my car, and you wonder too, like if you come across someone, because we have seen the videos of people ODing in their cars or on the sidewalk, on the bench, at the park bench, or in the bathroom at restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
What are the signs if you have one of the kids, but you're not living with someone who has, a drug problem?
So, and yeah, and you might not even have a drug problem. One of the issues is that we've got a lot of an older adult population here that might be misreading labels or seeing, or taking multiple pills and not realizing it's having a reaction. But signs and symptoms, it's respiratory failure. basically trouble breathing, dilated pupils. It's very obvious. That would be a very obvious thing. Take a look at their pupils. So, but respiratory failure is probably the number one, where they're starting to turn a little bit blue and not being able to get enough oxygen in. So in that, we do have making sure that they're in the right, the appropriate position, um, making sure that they're not in a state where if they happen to have to vomit, that they're not choking on it, things like that. So that I would say respiratory failure, and then their pupils for sure. The other thing, signs and symptoms, is also recognizing the area directly around them. I'll be, completely transparent. I experienced somebody in an overdose in a car that I just, had seen on the road, kind of thing, weaving in and out, and there he was, pulled over and nodding off, and the paraphernalia was all over his lap. So it's not always obvious, but I'd say predominantly most of the time there's multiple things that you're going to see very quickly that would indicate an overdose.
And it is really scary. I remember one time coming across a guy in a car in Detroit on a side street. And in that situation, it was before we had this Narcan in the training,
Yeah,
but his foot was also still like, his car was not in park. So then you were worried
yeah,
too, like, what do you do? What do you not do? Can you get in and try to turn off the car? And what happens? And
yeah.
it could be a scary situation for anyone to come upon, but moments count. So how much time are we looking at for Narcan to for it to really be effective?
Well, I'm going to say go back to the first thing I said, because I had literally had the same experience. So 911, please call 911 immediately, because they're going to know all the other protocols around that too. Don't put yourself in danger for obvious reasons. We've got heroin laced with fentanyl in Oakland County, in the area in Southeast in Michigan. And that can be fatal just by touch. So you need to use caution. If you're in a scenario like you just mentioned, and I've stated too, call 911 and they'll get there in moments. And again, every moment saves a life, right? So if you happen to have Narcan on you, and you're able to administer it in a safer way for yourself, then go ahead and do that. But we've got police officers and fire and EMS that are extremely skilled at doing this for you. I would definitely engage with them right away, and then go ahead and administer the Narcan if you're comfortable. Some people aren't.
I know that you have a series of trainings coming up. Can you tell us more about that?
So yeah, so with the pandemic, we actually have been providing virtual training. So we do those every Tuesday evening and Thursday at lunchtime. So you can go online and do those trainings anytime. Then we also partner with different organizations, including what is currently 21 prevention coalitions in Oakland County. And we have one coming up, uh, a drive-through on, let me just make sure I've got this right, on August 11th, in Pontiac, where we're partnering with the Welcome Missionary Baptist Church. The Narcan Save a Life trainings that we do with communities virtually, they're all on our calendar, but we have one July 27th at 7 o'clock, and we've got one August 19th at 5:30. So if you can't make those two consistent weekly ones, we have specific ones. Again, we partner with organizations, police departments, and coalitions. And then we also now do a drive-through, which is a 15-minute experience locally or within, again, Oakland County, where you can drive up, get the training, and it takes roughly 15 minutes. And then you're given the Narcan after you do a survey. And we also do refills as well. If it's expired like yours, give us a call or go online and reorder a refill.
So with that, Julie, too, if I can ask, because I know that you had to start the virtual training because of the pandemic, but has it allowed you to reach more people? Do you think you'll continue that?
We are absolutely going to be continuing it. We're not just reaching people here locally, we're reaching people across the nation. And where actually some of the organizations are modeling how we do it, which is a great honor for us as well. So it will be continuing virtually 100%. Obviously, a lot of people like the face to face, and we respect that. And with the vaccinations coming in and COVID restrictions being lifted, we will be resuming the face to face as well.
Julie Brenner with us here on the Mega Cast. She's the president and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. And I know you and your team, you're always busy. What other things do you have going on over there?
So we are in the throes of planning for our annual Shatter the Stigma event. And we normally do a run walk in June, but again, we've had to pivot a little bit. So this will be our second year of a virtual experience that launches on August 31st, which is National Overdose Awareness Day. And then with that kickoff, we'll be doing a Narcan training, a memorial walk. And then September 1st begins National Recovery Month. And we'll have a lot of, do-it-yourself fundraisers live in person on social media, mixed with a lot of education and awareness on how we can support people that are in recovery, all the different programming that we have that surrounds supporting people, families, grandparents, caregivers, youth, anyone that's affected, whether it is you yourself that's affected by substance use disorder or someone that supports someone and loves somebody that is going through that. So it's quite extensive and busy for that month. But again, you can check out all of our social media and the events that we're going to do, including we've been in a new location since last September and we haven't had an open house yet. So we'll be doing an October 7th open house and finale for the extended Shatter the Stigma month of national recovery.
So, talking about Shatter the Stigma, how important is it for us as a community and as a society to start reframing our conversations around drug use and drug misuse?
Right. It's extremely important. When we look at different aspects of why people are using and things like that, there's a lot of shame there, or has been historically a lot of shame there. And we're here to break that cycle. People need support, people need care, people need compassion, people need treatment and resources and things like that. So by changing the dialogue and making it an open conversation, for us, definitely in our organization and ones that we work with, has really changed the sort of the scenery of what that's going to look like. And shattering the stigma for us is a really crucial component of the recovery support that we provide. And I think it's also, you're seeing it nationally as well, where we're really looking at mental health and behavioral health as it ties into substance use disorders. And again, Shatter the Stigma for us is a very supportive, compassionate component of the work that we do.
If we
It's
could
necessary.
just briefly, I mean, I know we've talked to you several times throughout the pandemic, but again, for people that maybe are recognizing that their loved one is struggling, but they don't know how to have the conversation or they don't know how to bring up the issue, what advice do you give to them?
Obviously approach with some compassion. People that are in the throes of substance use disorders may need extra help that maybe you're not able to give, and that's okay. It's okay to ask for help. We actually provide a lot of resources, and even encourage just phoning us and asking, like, what can I do? A lot of people don't know that we've got a sober support unit here in Oakland County that you can drive right up to, no questions asked, and get that person help right away. So I encourage everyone to not do this alone. You need a connection, you need a resource, you need someone to handhold the process. Again, we're here to help with that. Coalitions are here to help with that, and all the different organizations are around to do that. But it's really reaching out and knowing that you're not alone, and there are people that really care. We've got peer recovery support coaches and things like that are able to connect with you. And I think that's probably the first step is, when you're sitting at the table at home and you're in the throes of trying to figure out what to do for your son, your daughter, your parent, reach out. There are a lot of people and organizations here that can help with that. And that would be the first step.
We are lucky and blessed to live in the community in which we do, because we do know that Oakland County has a great support system. And
Yes.
it is just, making that phone call. Julie Brenner with us again, President and CEO for the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Before we let you go, what is your website again?
It is www.achcmi.org.
Well, it's been great talking to you, and thank you for all that you've been doing. And
Thank you.
we look forward to coming to your open house in person.
That would be great. I would love to see you in person.